Tiny wife.
Hey, freak show! You got our wives confused again, you idiot!
Hello my friends, and welcome back to a very, very exciting installment on Player Display. Because I just got another pile of loot in from Big Bad Toy Store, which means, I got some good stuff here today on Player Display. So obviously I have two figures here, even though we're just going to be reviewing one for now. Be patient, it'll be okay. So on the left we have NECA's Universal Monsters Bride of Frankenstein, and then we also have the Phantom of the Opera. I'm really eager to review both of these, but just to pace myself and to be sure I don't kill myself in the editing process, I'm just going to start with one for the day. And for the sake of time constraints, I'm going to go ahead and start with Bride because she has a little bit less accessories to worry about. As for Phantom, there's a lot more going on, so we're going to spend our time with him on his own time. So let's put him to the side. He'll be back. Don't worry about Eric. He'll be okay. As for The Bride of Frankenstein, wow, what an interesting movie. I've seen it several times already, and of course I watched it last night in anticipation for the figure I'd be receiving in the mail. I'm not impressionable, you're impressionable. It was definitely a lot more on the kooky side, not quite as melodramatic or scary as films before it, but where it hit really hard. It had some excellent moments of sincerity, compassion, and terror. It was just a bundle of a lot of different things, but an excellent movie nonetheless. And one of the most excellent factors is, of course, the titular bride. So let's go ahead and have a look at Frankenstein Jr.'s counterpart. So here we are at the box, and I was actually expecting totally different artwork for the front. They usually opt for the classic, theatrically released poster work to promote the films at the time, and this is not the poster I expected that they'd go with. I actually have never seen this one before, but I do like it more than the one I was expecting. I'll go ahead and picture it over here. Don't want to shortchange you. I love how we have the bride in yellow, then we have Frankie in green. We have more fearful than the monster himself. Bride of Frankenstein starring Karloff. He was effectively a brand in him of himself at that point. Ultimate Bride of Frankenstein, of course, which means we can have a ton of beautiful premium accessories to look at. Off to this side, we have the lesser-known form of the Bride of Frankenstein, wrapped up but very similar to the Mummy, who we will be having a look at in size comparisons. Oh my god! Now she's a little bit more familiar on this other side with that Marge Simpson hairdo and that beautiful, elegant white gown. And obviously, that's probably going to be the display option most people will be going with. Off to the back, we have a whole bunch of shots of the figure herself with her various accessories replaced, interchanged, or whatever, because that's what NECA does best, giving you all the options possible with a single figure. Off to the top, gotta move around a little bit as you have a little sneak peek at her size comparisons. We have the bride once again, kind of just a condensed version of the poster we have on the front. Off to the bottom, we got our usual pals.
Green Arrow.
And say with me now. Wait for it. Be patient, it's coming. It's almost here.
Start, audience!
So, here we go. Just a classic, good old-fashioned unboxing as I open this panel for the first time. Over here, we, of course, have the usual full profile image of the figure herself, looking absolutely radiant. That's magnificent. We did not get enough female Universal Monsters, that's for damn sure. And then over here, we have the various accessories, of course, in full display, but there might be more surprises as we come to unbox her. Ever since we unboxed the Invisible Man way back in this channel's history, I've always been curious as to how much these figures will vary from, oh, here's Betsy, by the way, so, will vary from the product shots, because with the Invisible Man, there were a few surprises. First of all, he came with a number of removable noses, 3 to be more exact, and also the elixir that he had in his hand, the color change, which I found really interesting. So I'm curious to see if there's going to be any variations or changes in these newer Universal Monsters figures. So of course we have Bride, and now we have Phantom, who I hope we will be looking at later this week.
Nope.
And then Gillman, or better known as the creature from the Black Lagoon, hopefully coming around later this year. But anyways, here she is in the bubble with all the accessories beautifully displayed. I can't wait to get in there. We got 3 awesome head sculpts, a bandage for one of the faces, some hands, got some bandages, and then we have the bride herself ready to be alive for like literally 2 minutes. So let me go ahead and pull out good old Donny Boy and take this woman right out of her plastic casket. It's another good name for a band. Actually decided that when it comes to Universal Monsters, we're going to do something a little bit differently when it comes to the presentation. Because as we know, when it comes to these movies, it's all about transformation. So what we're going to do is, as we go through the accessories, we're going to go through the various stages of existence that these characters go through. So the first time we meet Bride, she's kind of just lying down on a table, and she's pretty much just bandaged up like a female mummy. I almost feel like you could have her as a shoo-in for a Noxunamun to go ahead and accompany Imhotep over there. Anyhow, here is how she first appears in the movie, believe it or not, for those who have not watched it. And if you haven't, turn off this review right now. Go watch it. Okay, welcome back. Let's keep going. Everything starts off with her eyes, her entire face stapled and bandaged up. I almost feel like she's in a great deal of pain. This does not look comfortable at all, but again, NECA, god damn it, I would love to hug you and kiss you if you were a tangible thing, because this is absolutely remarkable. They could have just made all the bandages a slate white, and we probably would have accepted that. But no, it's not that simple. They did a little bit of like this beige wash going throughout to bring out all the folds, the creases, to make each strap distinct. It's just absolutely beautiful all the way down, and you can still make out a female form peeking out from underneath, especially from the side. I just love everything that they're doing here. And no articulation problems. I've tested out all the joints as I always do whenever I do an unboxing. Everything moves beautifully. Everything looks radiant. It's just excellent. I love this beginning of this figure. There's so much more to look at. But yeah, all the bandages continue all the way down to the feet, and then you can see down there, you don't see any toes or anything, they're kind of just wrapped up. I like how it's kind of got that fold, like, ooh, look at that, even right there. You can see there's that little indent implying that there was kind of a strap just folded right over all 5 little piggies, and I really do appreciate that attention to detail. Something you would not even be privy to while watching the movie. That is excellent. Now let's go ahead and do a dramatic close-up as we do a reveal of the bride's eyes. Oh, there she is, and she looks absolutely fantastic. Actually, this head sculpt exceeds my expectations. It was the one that I was least thinking about, not because I didn't think it would be good. I knew it would be great. It's friggin' NECA, of course. But I didn't consider how much work and effort they'd put into the eyes here. I just thought, oh, alright, so it's going to be an unbandaged bride, she's going to have her eyes poking out, but I didn't consider the fact that she'd look so mortified. She's terrified by the fact that she is a... Oh, I almost forgot to mention 2 accessories that are tangible with this look that we have over here. We have 2 wrist straps, very similar to the mummy, so all we got to do is slip those right over. And there's one, and here's the other. They are differently shaped. Let's see here. Just gotta weave it around a little bit. They're nice and flexible, not too stiff or anything. You could probably put them anywhere. I imagine you could also put them on the ankles and stuff. I know I like to do that with the mummy figure a lot. I'll be bringing him up a lot until she's finally all the way clothed and in her more iconic look. But yeah, they hang down fine. Got some nice gravity to them. I like how they're nice and floppy, so as you're articulating her, they kind of, well, you know, drift with the wind a little bit. Just get a minor shake or give them a little tap, and they float right down. I really do like that. Now, of course, I've already gone ahead and removed the gown, so I already kind of know what it's all about. Out of packaging, of course, you have her in her more iconic look, but for the sake of seeing that transformation, as we mentioned, let's go through the motions and just get her back into her more iconic self. So let's pop this profile off, and as you see, it has a full, almost collarbone level neck sculpt devoted to it, which I really do appreciate. Kind of different with all the other Universal monsters. There was kind of just a cylindrical neck going right into a tunic, but as for Bride, we do get exposed collarbone, so of course she's going to be a little bit different. As for removing the gown, you first need to put the arms up, and I'm noticing now the shoulders are very flexible, which I really appreciate. That'll allow the gown to go on a lot more nicely. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to do my best to get this on camera. You can see that there is some stitching on the back, a detail I didn't notice until I rewatched the film yesterday, and I was curious how they were going to handle it, if they were going to handle it at all, and by God, they did a really good job. But yeah, it's a very nice silky cloth. Just stretch it over the hands into those little holes, let it drape right on down. There we go. Just push the arms down, and everything is perfectly form-fitting. It looks absolutely beautiful. Get that string out of the way a little bit as we select a first head sculpt. So get the cloth out of the way, just be sure nothing gets stuck in the mold there. Plug the head right on. It was a little bit loose when I pulled her out, but Yeah, there we go. The Bride of Frankenstein. Now, the one unfortunate thing with mostly clothed figures is that we lose so many beautiful details that are underneath. Not NECA's fault, this is of course very screen accurate, but let's take our time to see how far out this gown goes, because it did cast quite the shape on the film, and you know what, it stretches out quite a lot. So if you want it to be a little bit more, I guess, stylized and flared out, you absolutely have that option, depending on how much real estate you have on your shelf that you're willing to accommodate specifically for Bride over here. But if you want it to be a little bit more tucked in, just give a little bit of a push and go straight down. Pretty slender, looks really good. A little bit poofy to the side, but if you want that to be a little bit less so, then you can kind of pull it away towards the back somewhat, I guess. You could probably use a pin or a needle or something if you want a very specific shape, but yeah, just hide it in the back a little bit, and then there we go, it's a little bit more streamlined. And also a quick little peek at the thread work on the back garments, and I really like how well that's done. I feel like if that ever came unraveled or anything, it should be pretty easy to put together. Although one thing I might do is just get a little dot of glue and put it right on that knot there, because there is no reason why I'd ever want to unstring any of this right here. It looks really good as it is. As for a few remaining accessories, which are no less amazing, we have another pair of hands, this time a little bit more splayed out, whereas before they were a little bit more tucked in or idle, or whatever you'd like to say, but they're also continue with that beautiful sculpt work and paint. And then we got the other hand over here, and you'll see just how easy it is to pour it back in, like so, and pour it back out, little bit of a twisty, and it pops right out, so very nice. And all of the hands are hinge out and in, which is pretty standard for Universal Monsters. And as for our last head sculpt, probably being the most iconic face for the Bride, we have a good old classic scream. Because of course she screams into her husband's face twice, because she doesn't know what the hell's going on for the little that she's alive. Of course, these head sculpts exude the absolute radiance of Elsa Lanchester, I believe I pronounced that right. Yes, the first Elsa, not the Let It Go, Build a Snowman one. Gives a crap about that. All the head sculpts plug on pretty well. This one's a little bit more loosey-goosey, I feel like, but just press it down, set it down on your shelf, and I don't think you should have much of an issue. When you're setting her down, it's also worth mentioning, since the cloth is so long, you might want to pull that out of the way before you plant her feet down, like so. Like, get the feet down first, then you can play around with the gown afterwards. I might get a stand under there as well. But yeah, panning up to the Bride, let's get her into a more shocked pose over here. You see the neck kind of pops out, but not a huge deal. Yeah, just simply get her hands up there, and there we go. Like it's straight from the films, right? Just in color. Speaking of in color, that's the one concern I had about this figure, which is now mollified. I was worried that the hair color would be a little bit too saturated. I'm still thinking about it, but I do kind of like what they did here. I was not expecting brown at all, so I saw the product shots and was kind of like, I wish it would be like more of a darker brown or even just a straight black, but this color's not too bad. I might consider darkening it up. I'll think about it. We'll put her beside Frankie Boy, and we'll see what we want to do about that. Last thing I wanted to mention about the really beautiful face sculpts, if we pull in the second Elsa option that we have over here, is of course, you can see they are very consistent, they look like the same person, but also if you go off to the side, very similar to Frankenstein, they paid attention to the scarification right over here on the bottom of the right jaw, going all the way up to the ear. Ah, damn, and even down here on the neck sculpt. NECA, what are you doing? You're being awesome, you're not allowed to be that great, come on. Actually, as I slightly struggle to remove this garment in anticipation for articulation, I will say that there is one accessory that I wish they included, although I don't put it past them for not doing it because it was such a brief scene. I wish they did one last head sculpt, being her very animal-like hiss that she had in response to Frankenstein about to pull the self-destruct lever of the laboratory. That would have been really cool to have, just as another option to have a more hostile look for her, but regardless, the three that we have, all of them absolutely spectacular. Now here we are at articulation, just in time for me to stop my rant. So as for the head sculpts, we'll look at all three of them because they are a little bit different, but as for the bandage one, I suppose, we have a little bit of tilt, although I'm afraid of the joint popping out. It's not too terrible though, it's pretty good. Got all the swivel you like, tilt forward, tilt back, very good. As for these other head sculpts, they're probably going to have the same neck gappage issue, I suppose you could call it. But let's see how they go. So we have the tilt, which is actually a lot better than I expected. A little forward, a great amount back, perfect for the screaming, right? You also have some swivel, and then over here, everything seems pretty much the same for the more neutral expression, whichever you prefer. As for the rest of the body, pretty much what you see is what you get, no real surprises, except for these really soft and excellent shoulders. So let's go ahead and start up there. We have swivel all the way around, that you can hear a little bit of that Michael Jackson coffin creep from Thriller. Then you have that much out, perfect 90, loving it. Then we also have an elbow that's at about 90, a little bit more would have been nice, but you do have a little bit of an elbow swivel. You also have swivel at the wrists, all in and out for each of the interchangeable hand options. As for the torso, ball joint, swivel, tilt that much in, a little bit back, and then side to side quite a bit, actually pretty good if you force it a tad. All the plastic is pretty soft, so you can bend her a little bit further than you probably expect. And there you see the neck popping out a little bit, really not a problem. Pose the head, then fix up the neck, and then you're fine. I don't care that much, that's okay. As for the waist, I'm glad that they didn't go the diaper route. It blends in pretty well with the rest of the sculpt that we have here. And also, it's a very soft plastic, allowing for some good leg movement. So we got that much out to the side. It's almost shy of 90. It's pretty close. As for forward, actually past 90, interestingly enough. Going back, gets a little stuck, but that's pretty good. As for the knees, we got a 90. We also have a swivel. As for the ankles, we got back, very good. Forward, also great. And then as for the rocker, always kicking ass, as it should. Now here we are for the Universal Monster Size Comparison Circuit. So I think this is every monster that they've released thus far in the line, of course excluding the black and white variants, which I do not have. But over here to start, we have Claude Rains as the Invisible Man, Lon Chaney Jr. as the Wolfman. We'll be looking at his father, Chaney Sr. as the Phantom very, very soon. Over here we have Boris Karloff, who also portrayed the Mummy. And pretty much as I said, yeah, she could stand in as a female mummy if you'd really like her to. Then over to the right, we have her hubby being Frankenstein Jr., and you know what? The height difference is absolutely excellent. It's clear that they were truly meant to be together. Then we have Bela Lugosi's Dracula over here, and just for shits and giggles, we also have Chucky and the Bride of Chucky being, of course, Jill Valentine, also portrayed by Jennifer Tilly, who was, of course, directly inspired by the Bride of Frankenstein. And even though he's not NECA, all things must come to an end with Star Wars The Black Series Muck Muck.
I mean, Universal Monsters, that's a little friggin' rude. Hi there, my name's Muck Muck. I'm a Kowakian monkey. Alright, I'll just leave you alone then, please.
And that is a full review of The Bride of Frankenstein, and oh man, I love seeing these two together. A few things about the movie, again, you better have watched it by now, I told you. I saw this movie for the first time, and I did not expect their relationship to be so short-lived, if not totally absent. We always imagine these two together, but obviously it was perfectly thematic for the movie for Frankenstein to technically kill the bride. He knew that he was an abomination the world would not accept, and he kind of saved her from that similar fate. The movie was many things, but at the end of the day, it was very tragic and somber, and it was really unfortunate to see such an iconic character go so early, especially when she's so popular in the horror zeitgeist, and then you go to see the movie, and you realize she's not around for that long. I mean, I think one of the best aspects of her is, of course, Elsa's performance. She definitely didn't come off like Frankenstein Boris Karloff at all, who was a lot more big and lumbering. She was more so like a feral animal. She was very fox-like. I love the way that she moved her head, darted her eyes around, like, she was a whole different creature, further proving that reanimating the dead, it's not always going to yield the same results. And I guess Frankenstein Jr., to an extent, understood that, and that's why he did pull the lever and end it all for the both of them. Well, within their canon. Of course, we got many other iterations of Frankie Boy over here to come. But really, both movies just total classics, both trying to do very different things. The first trying to be an adaptation of the book, and the second, of course, trying to basically be its own fanfiction, but also playing tribute and homage to what came before, in a very beautiful and poetic way. Love this figure, love the character, and it's just great to finally have these two together, even though they're never supposed to be. But yeah, that's pretty much a cap on this. I adore this figure. I love having this new splash of, I guess, no color on the shelf, because she is pretty monochrome, and this is the color variant of the figure, so that's kind of interesting. But she really is a standout. I mean, the hair helps. So if you enjoyed this review and enjoyed content in the past and would like to enjoy content in the future, or if you're just new, then please, as per usual, be sure to
Like
comment,
and subscribe.
or you'll never get a chance to try the company chocolates, and so much heart was put into them. Thank you guys once again, rock on, and I will see you all later. Again, you're probably gonna have the same knack gappage issue.
English!
She was not ready to be among the living yet again, and I just love this profile so much. I almost wish we had an additional body so we could have a bandage bride and a gowned bride, so we could have two of them. I guess maybe if either bride or mummy goes on sale, then you could probably makeshift two separate brides if you really wanted to. But really, you just need a base body that can compensate for the different hands, because she has multiple hands, which we'll get to, and then for the various head sculpts. And you could have her 2 stages of life, which was very, very short. Sorry, but the fact that my camera can register this as a human face really just speaks to NECA's quality. Holy crap!